Get out your brass knuckles, make sure someone's got your back, and never let down your guard, because it's time for a street fight. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve returns to the schedule once again, and as always, its take-no-prisoners nature will undoubtedly leave a number of drivers licking their wounds. This tight and punishing circuit demands great respect and even greater skill, and we'll see who's got both as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sam, Montreal has been the home for F1 in Canada for a number of decades now, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about the track?
Well, the track is definitely a unique one, Joe, and whenever it comes to unique racing circuits, there's always some people who love it and some people who hate it. However, I am one of the former. I really enjoy the circuit, especially as a spectator. These slow turns out here, of which there's only 13, can lead to some tyre wear. They lead to some overtaking opportunities. The tyre wear, of course, can lead to some pit strategy. And there's going to be lots of time for that to play out today, because we are going to be racing 70 laps around this 2.7 mile circuit. The walls, as you can even see with our GSRC car going around here in slow motion, they are never too far away. Let's get on board this GSRC car for a full lap of speed with our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Jason Fleischle in the GSRC MP4-30, so let's do a lap around Montreal. Coming down to turn 1, it's a tricky process of carrying your speed while setting yourself up for the hairpin of 2. The line and curved braking will make passes very difficult to make stick. Be easy on the gas so that you keep traction out of the turn. Heading down to 3 and 4, this is a surprisingly fast right-left, and the wall on the outside is going to collect its fair share of drivers over the course of the race. It's a terrifying flat-out blast through 5, then heavy on the brakes for 6. Keeping tight to widen your exit out of 7 is going to make a big difference. Anyone with understeer might fall victim to the wall, though. From there, it's a short break on the backside of the island before you throw out the anchor for yet another chicane. The curves to the inside of 8 and 9 will bite you, so show them some respect. After that, the track gently curves left before you have the only non-chicane turn of the track, the casino hairpin. This is one of the best places to pass on the track, but the DRS zone afterwards could make you vulnerable, so weigh your options carefully. Watch out for wheel spin on the exit, which will be incredibly easy to lose time to. Now we're on the backstretch, where DRS passes are likely to cause plenty of back-and-forth battles between drivers. However, coming up is the infamous Wall of Champions chicane that has embarrassed even the greatest drivers over the years. Spot your brake marker, stay off the curbs, and flirt as close as you dare to that concrete barrier. Hopefully, you kept the car whole and have finished your lap around Montreal.
There's a pretty quick lap around, as Sam pointed out, a track with very few corners for a Grand Prix track. As we wait for qualifying to work its way through, let's take a quick glance at the points championship. Of course, for the drivers, Manu Domingo doing very well this season. Nicholas Rasmussen trying to follow him up, but quite a ways behind. And it's a very close fight there you can see between second and third. Calistani been using some unusual strategies so far this season, but hasn't hurt him too badly. Montañez and Peeve round out the top 5 a little bit farther back. And Sam, now, amazingly, there might be some people who haven't seen these races before. So what are they up for in the iRacing Grand Prix Series?
Well, pretty much what you'd expect out of your typical Formula 1 race. So currently we're racing a 12-week season. This is from the official series on iRacing. Their F1 races normally get full fields around this time on the weekend. So they came to us and we broadcast them. And we're going to see lots of big names competing on track here today, hoping for a World Championship ride next season. The car, the McLaren MP4-30 that they used a few years ago. Now, the race is going to be 70 laps long, and just like a typical Formula 1 race, if you break it, you're in trouble. No free repairs, and you also don't want to abuse your incident limit by putting your car off track too much, because the walls, as we mentioned, not far away here, and you see on screen right now the DRS flap open on the car we're on board there, that these drivers do have DRS that they can use if they're within a second of the car in front to make a pass. So it will be interesting seeing how things pan out here, because as we say, this is definitely not your typical Spa or Suzuka or Silverstone.
Few drivers getting a time on the board. Marcus Jensen has provisional pole at the moment. Waiting for more drivers to come across. There's Orozco, and he is going to get up onto the front row. Oh, and Osgaard abandons his lap, interestingly. Last round's winner at Silverstone. Going to give it another go. He's got time.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Joe. He's got plenty of time to get it in. That's one nice thing about having the short track and the fast car.
Pierre Faber has, let's see, I believe, no, he does not have a time yet. He's coming to the hairpin. We have 3 black stripe drivers this time, Sam, so the competition has gone up this round, I'd say. So a number of the top pros deciding to make their presence known and getting some practice in out here.
Well, I was honestly a bit surprised, Joe. I know some drivers, this isn't their favourite F1 track, but participation this weekend it has been quite good for this weekend's race. That means a lot of points on the board. This is a top of 2 splits going on, so even the number 19 car there out there, Jalmas Giroux, is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Currently, though, it is the number 1 car on provisional pole, Marcus Jensen. You having the number 1 by having the highest rating of all the drivers in the field.
As we watch Ale Cuoca, has had mixed results so far this season. Let's see if he fares well at a track. Oh, and a big bit of wheel spin coming out to turn 7. Certainly not going to help him on his qualifying time. He doesn't have one yet. Here we see Harrison Finch, another one of our winners so far on the broadcast races this season, has yet to put his qualifying time in. He's one of the drivers looking to try and get a pro ride to race in the top level. We've watched him go from the Formula Renaults up here to the Formula One cars and has steadily improved, gotten better and better. This young driver has an incredible amount of talent. Let's see what he can do as he comes through the wall of champions, nice and tidy through there, up to the line. The timing line here is all the way down to the start-finish line, and he gets himself up to 4th.
Yeah, a lot of drivers actually coming around. They all have a track to themselves right now for qualifying, but they're all doing their laps at the same time. A lot of the drivers were coming out of the final corner right there, right behind Finch. So that shook the order up a little bit. Marcus Jensen on provisional pole, Ricard. And not anymore. Tommy Osgaard has just put the number 3 car to the top of the timing sheets. 1/10 of a second over Jensen.
Wow. And we watch Enric Andre come across, still doesn't get a lap time. So he's got one more try and he's got enough time to get it in. Let's see how he does as he's the last one to get a lap time. Now, we did get some information that apparently the iRacing World Championship Series, of course, running here, which is why we're seeing a number of the pros get some practice in race conditions, try and figure out their strategy, get their chops up out here, make sure that they're able to handle being in such close quarters. Because, Sam, this place known in just about every car we've seen race here for a very high attrition rate.
Yeah, and with 19 cars, unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a little bit of chaos towards the start of the race, of which we'll be able to call the grid out for you here momentarily, because as you mentioned, Joe, Enric Andre, really the only driver left to set a time. Everyone else has completed their 2 laps, bouncing it over the curb through the final turn. Look nice and planted, though. He's going to cross the line here. Where's he going to go?
Only 13th for Andre, unfortunately. So looks like he's going to have some work to do in the race. He's rated 4th on iRating, so expect maybe him to have to climb through the field as we watch a few more cars. Stefan Schmidt is who we just saw there, and I think he's only got 1 lap down, so he could still change his time. I think, oh, no, he might not get to the line in time. So with that, let's go through our grid. Before we do that, sorry to mix it up on our director. We do have a few people to thank, of course. So if we could bring up on screen our donators, our broadcast supporters who have done a lot to make sure that this comes to air. A huge thank you to all these people who have put forth time and money towards this. So let's go to the grid, starting with the pole. Tommy Osgaard at the front, with Marcus Jensen going to be on the outside of the front row. Josh Thompson will be in 3rd with Ricardo Orozco. My apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Starting in 4th. Matteo Calistani will be in 5th, followed by Harrison Finch in the 6th position. Then in 7th, Manu Domingo will start there, followed by Benjamin Lindsay in 8th, row 5. Rene Vanderbosch starts in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Sam, will be Bill Frazier.
We just saw Stefan Schmidt on screen. He'll be starting in 11th alongside Rob Bower. And Eric Andre will be starting from 13th ahead of Carl Germanton. Simeon Lynch will be starting in 15th ahead of Evan Lathoris, a tough-to-pass Australian. Dejel Mastrout in that number 19 car will be starting 17th ahead of Pierre Fabre and Ollie Quoker, two drivers at the back of the field there who will be hoping to make their way up.
There we see our grid, all the cars working their way onto there, getting their setup loaded, making sure they've got the race setup in, the fuel right, everything, every box ticked and checked, knowing that they've got their strategy right, understanding what the stakes are, where the danger zones are. Obviously, this is a narrow track. There is the danger of it being blocked. So everybody now on the grid, and the lights come up. The engines start to rev here in round 5 in Canada. Green flag is out and off the line. It's a very good start from 4th place. Who is that trying to split the middle? Is that Ricardo Orozco? Yes, it is. And we get a car bumped off track. I believe that was Marcus Jensen. And another one having to take the shortcut. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was Josh Thompson who got into the back of him. Benjamin Lindsay was also, of course, as was Bill Fraser.
Orozco absolutely flying, getting himself up to lead past Osgard, who's in 2nd. Calistani is now in 3rd, Domingo 4th, and Thompson in 5th.
Yeah, one car out of a race for all of us. That was Harrison Finch, got involved in some early drama. Evan LaForest is currently off the racing line. He's going very slowly through the middle part of the course. Pierre Fabre also out of a race.
One of our previous race winners not having a good start for this one as they come down to the casino hairpin for the first time. Top 5 really starting to streak away as Rob Bower now has the car of Kyle Germanton all over the back of him. They will not have DRS, just like in the real world, quite yet. Have to wait for lap 2 for that to come in, but they're still going to get a big slipstream. And now up to the wall of champions, Sam.
Yeah, so as Orozco comes around to complete the first lap, Osgard keeping him honest. Let's go back and take a replay at the start and see exactly how Orozco got up to that top position after starting 4th on the grid. Remember, this is only the 2nd race we've had where they've had the double clutch, and maybe that helped him out here.
This was awful brave. Actually made wheel-to-wheel contact. I think that was with Osgard. Oh, and on his lid goes Finch. Sad news for him.
Yeah, 3rd car in the pits. Now Ollie Croker has bought his number 18 machine with damage. So 2 retirements on the opening lap. Pierre Fabre and Harrison Finch. Ollie Croker also off to a rough start. 16 cars still out there on track. Some of them are a bit beat up on the opening laps, but they're making do for now.
Osgard very much giving chase on Ricardo, but he's not within striking distance quite yet. A battle going on side by side between Schmidt and I believe this is Jensen as they come down the rowing straight up towards the final chicane. Jensen's going to have a bit of an advantage, and he slips ahead of him. So move Jensen up into 9th.
Yeah, things are about to start getting interesting for the battle for the lead, I'm sure, because DRS will be open when Ricardo and Tommy come back around next time by.
Indeed it will. Tommy gets very close to the wall of turn 4, flirting with disaster, but the fastest drivers have to be right up to the edge to get the most out of these machines as we ride on board with the black stripe driver coming down to turn 8. One of the other possible passing zones that we've seen from time to time. No DRS into there.
Yeah, a bit of a risky passing zone, though. Honestly, you're probably better off waiting until after the hairpin and get the DRS assist down the long back straight, which is what they're about to get this time around.
All right, let's see how much of an effect it has. The letterbox will, in fact, open. He was within half a second. And Osgard starts to gain as it flips open, but not a whole lot. Boy, that didn't seem to have much of an effect at all, Sam.
Well, there's two things that could be going on there. It could be open setups where Orozco might be running with a bit less downforce. It could also be that Orozco was prepared for Osgard's attack from behind and maybe started using the curves a bit earlier on down that long straight. There. The ERS. Sorry, stuck in the wrong decade.
I knew what you meant. As we watch Josh Thompson in a nice little battle down here in 4th. Starting in 3rd, he's fallen back 1 position. He's trying to get that back from Calistani at the moment. And he's got a good run on him. Go ahead.
Yeah, behind Thompson and Domingo in 5th place, we have 2 drivers who were able to capitalize on that attrition from the opening lap. Rob Bower started in 12th, he's up to 6th, and actually he almost lost it through the chicane this time around, but didn't. And Kyle Drummondton started 14th, he's up to 7th. However, they're going to want to keep an eye on Marcus Jensen, who was involved in all the shenanigans going on down there. And we're going to get a replay of Thompson making a pass here.
We saw just the tail end of it, got a fantastic run out of 9 into the hairpin. And you can see he demotes Calistani down to his teammate, Domingo. Both of those pure racing cars now line astern, and that is going to mean that they are 4th and 5th on track and already starting to streak away a little bit. So I think that Calistani was a bit of a plug in the bottle.
Yeah, well, honestly, you mentioned these drivers from the pure racing team there, Joe. There's only 2 of them out on track right now. Normally we see them a bit better represented. Obviously Finch is also one of their teammates, but he's out of the race. So these 2, and it hasn't been surprising for us to see this team play the strategy card throughout the course of the season. But if they're going to do it today, they've got to do it with only 2 cars out there.
Well, they're positioned fairly well, at least. There's no teams championship that they're keeping track of in this series, but obviously means a lot for team pride. Meanwhile, look at this battle happening behind them. This is between Germanton and Jensen. They were battling at the start of the race, and they're still going at it.
Yeah, well, as we just mentioned, Jensen started 2nd, got caught up in all that stuff on lap 1, so he's trying to make his way back up through the field here. Easy DRS pass, maybe. Drummondton thought about making a counter-attack, but wasn't able to do that, so moved Jensen back up to 7th. And let's see how high he can get up through this field.
Jensen's one of our black stripe drivers, we should mention. So as he brings that Burst Esports machine up into 7th, now he sets his sights on Bower. So we jump back down to Lathoris. Gave us quite a bit of excitement at Spa. Right now, he's in the thick of it, sitting between Andre and Frazier. This is down for 11th position. These 3 in a tight little battle. Lathoris losing a little time to the car behind. Frazier getting very close to that rear wing. He's going to get a slipstream down the lakeside stretch. Not close enough to have a go into 8. Sets himself up for a fantastic run out of 9 now. And here we go. We've seen this before. Making passes into the hairpin. Defensive move from Lathoris, but a little early on the brakes. They're going to go side by side around there. And around the outside is always a hard ask. Some wheel spin puts the nail in the coffin, and Bill has to back off.
Yeah, I was curious who would come out on top by the time they got to the DRS detection zone there. It looks like Lathoris is able to stay out in front of Fraser down the run, down the back straight. Oh, big moment for Lynch at the back there.
Yeah, I was going to say what this is doing is allowing Andre to get away from them. And Lindsay was closing up, but Benjamin Lindsay now falls back of these 2 a little bit. Coming down to turn 3, and now they head on to the Riverside side of the course once again, where most of the chicanes reside. Not missing anything up front as we watch this battle. Osgard is... oh, excuse me. Yes, we actually switched to the front there. Now on screen, Osgard now 7/10 behind Orozco. Hasn't been able to make ground. Down down in 10th. A little bit of a side-by-side action between Andre and Schmidt. Andre in front around the outside of the hairpin, but he's going to give the DRS to Stefan Schmidt as now they head down the backstretch.
Oh, battle one for P6 going through the hairpin. Rob Boer being challenged from Marcus Drenson behind. Drenson once again as DRS going down the front straight. Thought about making the move into turn one, but Boer just had a bit too much of a good run there. Currently, these are the drivers who started 12th and 2nd on the grid, so you would think Drenson might have a bit of a speed advantage. He also had a bit of a DRS advantage. However, Boer has the track position, not willing to give it up just yet.
Marcus doing all he can to try and do damage limitation at this race from that first corner incident. Of course, not too surprising, Sam, as this track, even in real life, known for having a little bit of chaos into that Senna S.
Yeah, I think we saw quite a fair amount of that on the opening lap, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. All right, Drenson going to look down the inside here, getting on the brakes, rear end, stepping out a little bit, but this could actually pan out well for him because he's still behind, so he'll still get DRS here. He's not going to get a slipstream pulled up alongside like that, but the DRS will still do its job, get that nice run down the back straight, and Drenson is up into 6th place.
Boy, Boer had a moment coming out of that hairpin, getting all sorts of sideways, and there we see it again. You and I were talking a little bit about it before the race, that the low-speed corners seem to maybe hurt the rear tires if you get a little greedy. It seems like Boer might be having problems with that here in the very early stages.
Yeah, well, it's going to be worse now, obviously, than it will throughout the rest of the race because these drivers have heavier fuel loads. We anticipate 2 stops for most of the drivers throughout the duration, so each time they get a new set of tyres, they won't be burning them off as quickly because their cars won't weigh as much.
Back down to Lathoris once again, and once again, it's Bill Frazier hassling him for that P12 spot. He's close down the backside of the course, but waiting patiently for that DRS zone. They are still chasing Stefan Schmidt, but Schmidt has gapped himself slightly, kept himself safe. Here's a good run from Frazier, but a defensive move from the Australian is going to deny the UK&I driver into the hairpin. DRS will open once again with everybody so close to one another. Unfortunately, I don't think Lathoris was close enough to Schmidt to get it himself. He stays very defensive all the way to the right side of the track. I think he's going to give that up as he weaves back to the left side, and still nothing Bill can do.
Fraser does have a bit of front wing damage from the opening lap, I assume, when we saw a bit of bumping going on. That could be hurting his ability to stay tucked up behind the rear wing of Lathoris. Maybe he'll have to play a bit of strategy to get by him later on in the race.
And actually, that brings up an interesting point, Sam. Most of the curbs are relatively low around here, but there's a few tall ones, such as the final chicane. Are those tall enough that you could actually damage the front wing if you clatter over it too hard?
I'm not sure I'm your best person to ask, Joe, because normally when I ended up with damage on the car while testing this in, it was brought about by the wall. So the curbs weren't really my biggest concern.
Duly noted. Now, we're getting information that Jensen actually has a little bit of rear damage, which, if I recall, he did get punted from the rear in the first corner, which is what caused him to cut the course a little bit. So that makes sense. As we take a look at Jensen. Yeah, we can see just a little bit of a bent end plate. Meanwhile, 4th, battle between teammates, Calistani and Domingo. This is down into turn 3. And it looks like Calistani's going to come out ahead. Now, I did see a car duck into the pits. That's Benjamin Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm guessing he was one of the drivers who was affected by the opening lap mess because he lost several positions at the start of a race and have been unable to get them back. Not taking care of his tyres by any means, though, because he's already thrown them off. No soft or super soft, medium strategy, none of that in this series. All the tyres are the same.
They're all the same, but fresh tires mean oh so much. Now, it's going to give Benjamin Lindsay a little bit more speed, but unfortunately means he's going to have to run a little long, I think, on this first stint.
Oh, we got a spin. Lynch. I think oh, wow. And he collapsed Giroux as he was backing out onto the racing line.
Let's take a look at this replay where it went wrong for Lynch. Into the corner, looks okay. It's the second half where he gets to the power, and there's just too much.
Yeah, he would have got away with that one, but yeah, you can't just back out onto the racing line like that, and Lynch has had to take a tow to the pits. Giroux might be okay.
Well, no, Giroux is in the pits as well. Well, if it weren't for you meddling kids, both of those drivers would be out on track. So back up the lead, Orozco still up in front, but now he's stretched it out. It's up to 1 second flat over Osgaard. So Osgaard's out of the DRS zone.
Yeah, he's been going in and out of the DRS zone, handing about 1.5 seconds back. I mean, we saw in the opening laps of the race, Osgaard was really pressuring Orozco. Then after a few laps, he kind of backed off, and he's kind of just been settling 1.5 seconds back there. I don't know if that's by choice or if he just wants to take care of his equipment and see if he can do something later on.
Let's give a little bit of a shout to our final podium spot, Josh Thompson. He started there, but he's kind of quietly running by himself at the moment. So Josh just holding his pace, trying to see where the race brings him at this point, about 4 seconds back. Has some front end damage, so not likely to try and catch these guys before the pit stops. We'll see if his pace improves after he's able to get it into the pits. Biggest chargers, though, I'm seeing at the moment, Kyle Germanton from 14th to 8th. This is a nice little run from Kyle.
Yeah, we mentioned he was up there in 7th earlier before Drenson got back around him, but he hasn't, been dropping back through the field like a rock. He may have been fortunate in gaining some of those positions on the opening lap, but he's been able to hold on to them. So credit where credit's due, doing a nice job out there in that number 12 machine right now.
We mentioned the attrition being a factor in these races. Well, we've already got 5 drivers out. Simeon Lynch, Jalmas Garot, Harrison Finch, Pierre Faber, and Ali Kwaka are your DNF. So 14 cars out of our 19 starters are still out on track. The field has certainly thinned, and Garot not happy at all about the move that he saw from Lynch, unfortunately expressing his displeasure over the chat right now.
Yeah, I wonder if he's aware Lynch has actually left the chat, but still very early on in this race, Trevor. It's only lap 14, so that's, well, that is a 5th race distance. Some quick maths right there.
That's a full race distance that we're doing today. We should note, I don't know if we mentioned that yet today, they have only a couple races this season that this series runs the actual Grand Prix distance that they do in the real world. This is one of them. So we continue to watch Lathoris try to fend off Schmidt. Now, he's actually gotten around Schmidt somewhere that we missed. Last time we looked, that Schmidt was ahead of him, and by about a second or so. Now, Schmidt might have had an issue at the Wall of Champions, we understand.
Yeah, we think that's where the pass was completed. Meanwhile, new front win for Bill Fraser. He had been carrying that damage on his number 5 McLaren since the opening lap of the race. Now he's got a new one. He's got a new set of tyres. Let's see what kind of lap times he can run out there.
Indeed, as he works his way through the chicanes, many of them on this track. I'm sure Bill was out there shouting about that somewhere. But right now, your top 5, Orozco, Osgaard, Thompson, Calistani, Domingo. And that has been shaken up somewhat since the start, but our top 5, the only one who didn't start in the top 5 is Domingo, going from 7th to 5th. Otherwise, the top 4, all where they were. Jensen, one of the drivers that started in the top 5, trying to get back up there. He's gaining on Domingo now. So in a moment, he could find himself back in this group, and he could get 2 for 1 because Kalistani is right there with his teammate still.
Yeah, Jensen was 7/10 of a second faster than Domingo last lap around and closes right down within the braking zone there. Will definitely be able to get DRS. I don't know if Domingo's within DRS range of his teammate. That would help carry him along. Well, one thing's for sure, Jensen definitely not closing on Domingo right now. It looks like he might have the advantage in the twistier bits in the infield section. Maybe we'll have to do this the hard way.
Yeah, with Domingo getting DRS himself, certainly it's going to be a lot harder to make the pass here in these 2 DRS zones at the end of the lap and at the start of the lap. Now they work their way through the Senna S. And he's very close. Look at how strong he is through those twisty bits like you mentioned. Through 3 and 4 now. Oh, big mistake from Domingo. Puts him under threat as Jensen gets right under the rear wing, but it's not enough of a stretch down here to 6. Gonna have to set himself up here for maybe the Riverside run.
Yes, this it would be an overtaking opportunity, but not within striking range there. He'll try and get a good run going up to the hairpin. Not able to do that either. Well, obviously now we'll be able to try DRS again, and I think he might have a better chance this time because Domingo is further back from Kalistani. Meanwhile, trouble further on back. Rene van der Bosch just ran off from 9th, and that gave that position to Eric Andre, who have been pressuring him for that position. We'll catch a replay of that because once again, no change up there for 4th.
Yep, that was just simply a driver mistake from van der Bosch as he has to cut the course and lets him on through.
Domingo and Jensen both in. I'm sure Jensen was thinking about coming in to try the undercut, but Domingo was already coming in too, so that's not going to work for him unless, of course, he gets a quicker pit stop.
There's always the chance of that. And his stall's going to be ahead of him. This will be interesting to see. Both of them hitting their marks. Oh, and Jensen out very quickly.
Yeah, Domingo must be getting some damage fixed or something.
Oh, and Boer with big issues. Parked across the track. He's trying to get it going. What happened here? Well, this is an unusual spot to lose it.
But it's also a very scary spot to lose it, Joe. If you ever on YouTube type up, well, you are on YouTube because you're watching our broadcast. After the broadcast, type up Star Mazda Montreal wreck, one of the largest ones ever happened right here because it's such a blind section of a track.
And that's Germanton. I think we're going back live. I was going to say, if we could get an onboard of Germanton, he's the first one to come up there around that blind corner. But he's managed to successfully get it away from the incident and gains a spot in the process, getting himself up into the top 5. Now, that is not a by merit top 5. It is by strategy for now, as he has yet to make his pit stop. So that slots Boer all the way down into 10th after what was looking like a pretty decent run from the Benelux driver. Has a very, very flashy car, I have to say. I like that paint scheme.
So Domingo did get back out on track again. He was in the pits for an extended amount of time. I can only assume they'll be getting damage repaired. When he got back out there, he was behind Benjamin Lindsay. Just got back by him. Be interesting to see if this number 7 car can follow Jensen back through the field, because that's the next driver ahead of him.
Yeah, it's. I'd say, maybe he could try to ride his coattails probably a little bit harder in these Formula One cars than some of the other machines where you can maybe use the slipstream. The wake, very powerful, even though these are the lower downforce editions of the McLaren before the more modern layout that they have on the cars here in these past 2 years. So we continue to watch Lindsay down in 13th. Follow behind Domingo. Things spreading out a little bit throughout the field. The pit stops doing that as drivers using slightly different strategy.
I'll tell you one battle that's closing in a bit, Joe, is our battle for the lead. Oscar has reeled in Orozco the last couple of laps. He's gotten himself within DRS range. Now, I don't know if that was a mistake from Orozco or if Oscar has turned up a wick a little bit, maybe trying to think about making a pass before the pit stops. Maybe he's thinking about pitting this lap, and Oscar just wants to get as close as he can to Orozco. Let's see if that's what ends up happening. I wouldn't be surprised. No, he stays out.
Yeah, I'm looking through the lap times, and I don't see any outlier laps where any major mistakes seem to happen for Orozco. So I think this is straight up pace that Oscar decided to turn it up and has closed in now. Got it to within half a second. Has been threatening. We know Oscar has the chops to try and win these races as he did at Silverstone last week. Can he make it back to back? That's the question. Oh, and Lathoris might be having issues. I'm seeing him blinking.
Yeah, that could be connection. There's another battle shaping up, Joe. I think you mentioned it a little while ago, but ninth place, Stephen Schmidt has Rob Bower behind him. Marcus Jensen after making his pit stops behind them. And Schmidt's off. That'll help him. Not good for Schmidt. He got in the wall. Let's see if he can keep going.
He's able to get it going once again, but let's watch on board. The Affinity Racing car gets to the power. Oh, that is so frustrating.
Yeah, the tire's going off. Whoa, change for the lead. Whoa, Oscar. Wow, Oscar came into the pits, but of course you don't have to slow down for the final turn as much as what you do if you stay out on track. So Oscar didn't waste any time making sure he didn't hit Orozco from behind. He just passed him on pit entry.
Let's watch this from above. This is a little risky, I feel like, but it worked for him. You're right. He would have lost a lot more time because Orozco would have headed in without having to brake early like he would have. Very smart stuff. Wow.
I think Charlie Whiting might have something to say about that if someone attempted it in the real world.
Well, I mean, anything that you can get away with and you don't wreck, whatever works. So Oscar already back out, has completed his stop. And I think Andre might have taken a tow. But it looks like we had a timing and scoring problem with our software. So Andre not in the lead, and now he's back to 11th place. And in a tight battle with Benjamin Lindsay once again.
Yeah, unfortunately, one driver is in his pit stall now with a lot of damage is Stefan Schmidt after that incident we saw not too long ago. Josh Thompson, he had been in third. He moved up into second after Oscar took his stop. And dropped back to third or fourth here. This might be an extended pit stop because he will be getting that front wing repaired.
Yeah, now we get a really good shot of just how much damage. I'm impressed that he had the pace that he had with his wing looking like that, because that looks severe. So, as pit stops, first of two we expect, work their way through. Here's the question. We saw someone make a one-stop work at Spa and a no-stop work at Silverstone. So does anybody take a gamble here, Sam, and try to go on a one-stop at this race?
I wouldn't recommend it. Orozco, our race leader, hasn't came in yet. His lap times are 1:16.6, less than a second off of his fastest laps. But of course, he's on a lighter fuel load here, though, so it could be... Let's see, Oscar is out there. Well, Oscar hasn't set a competitive time since he came back out of the pits yet. Will be interesting at the end of this lap, seeing how much time Orozco is losing.
Now, here's the interesting. Orozco's positive sim racing McLaren passed by the pits, so he's not responded on Oscar's strategy. Is this a mistake, Sam? Is Oscar on his fresh tires going to be able to start to try and leapfrog him? Oh, not now, like because that. Oscar cuts the final chicane, and that is certainly not going to be a hot lap for him. The Scandinavian makes a critical error.
In response to your question, Joe, I'm going to say, please, viewers watching this on YouTube Live, remember, don't post spoilers for the F1 race yet, because a lot of us haven't seen it.
Absolutely. Oh, and Marcus Jensen talking about his climb through the field. Fastest lap of the race. He goes purple. He sits in 5th right now, but has yet to take his stop. Well, actually, wait, I see.
He has. Yeah, he has made a stop.
All right, so this is a legitimate 5th place, I believe.
Yeah, I think he passed Evan Lathoris on, well, he was already ahead of Lathoris, actually, a little while ago. So, yeah, Jensen, with the fresher tyres and fresher rear wing after that first stop, well, I assume maybe they just hammered the rear wing back into place, is making his way back up there. I'm really sure he's not going to be able to pull a win out of this now, whereas that, I'm sure, was definitely his intention at the start of this race, but we'll see if he can still get a podium.
You know how you do, hammering carbon fiber back into place. So as we watch with still quite a bit of this race left to go, Josh Thompson on your screen being demoted down to 4th, having started 3rd in this race. What a great job by Josh Thompson, both in the race and in qualifying, being surrounded by black stripe drivers and out qualifying at least one of them.
Yeah, well, this hasn't been the first time we've seen Thompson this year, but we haven't always made mention of him because he has just been out there running quiet, good races, and he might be able to use that to come home with a podium here today. Although he might be one of those who will have to keep an eye on Jensen in the closing laps.
I was just about to say, we were looking over the rear wing and we saw Jensen looming closer and closer. He's now within DRS range, and as long as he doesn't screw up this corner, he should get it right here, coming out of the casino hairpin onto the backstretch. Indeed, within 0.7 of a second, that #1 machine now starts to reel him in.
Yeah, and I mentioned that Jensen got by Lathoris a little while ago and then tried to correct myself, but no, I was correct. Lathoris, of course, is one of 4 drivers who has yet to pit. So that's why Jensen got by him. Lathoris in 6th, Rob Bower in 7th, and our top 2 drivers, Orozco and Kalistani, have yet to pit. And I've got to start wondering, Joe, if those are all drivers who are going to attempt a one-stop on this, especially Kalistani. He is no stranger to that strategy.
On screen, you may have seen Osgard is trying to make up for his mistake. He went purple now. Set the fastest lap of the race last time by. Oh, and I'm not seeing Orozco on track. Did he have an error? Did he lose connection? I do not see him run into the wall. I think this is a connection issue for Orozco. Not good at all after running such a great race with a brilliant start. This is going to be gutting for Ricardo. Still, he has not returned. This is a long time lost in the ether, and now he's back. Oof.
Yeah, that damage you see to his front wing there hasn't actually occurred, or at least if it would be a coincidence. It's not unusual for a driver to come back from a long internet connection issue such as that with a bit of apparent damage on their car, but then it will reset itself within a while.
And how about this? Josh Thompson with the fastest lap of the race now. He sees Marcus Jensen in his mirrors, and he responds. Now, one of our drivers who has had a little bit of an issue this race, Rob Bower, has come into the pits. He's in and out after his fresh tires.
Yeah, that's right on the cusp of being a 1 or 2 stop strategy here, Joe. Obviously, lap 25 of lap 70, he's still got way over half of a race left to go, but the tyres aren't going to be taking as much abuse.
Well, and the car is lighter in the latter half of the race, so this
Exactly.
might work out.
And we're in Canada, where it's always cold, and the track temperatures are relatively cool, 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Might have warmed up a couple of degrees from the start of the race.
Yeah, just gotten up to about 92 at the moment. 65 degrees out there in the air temperature, but the sun is shining.
Fahrenheit for our European friends there.
Exactly. Lap 27 of this 70-lap race. There we see Josh Thompson, one of the closest fights on track at the moment, trying to fend off the charging Marcus Jensen. If you're just joining us, Jensen started up in the 5th position, but found himself run into in the first couple corners, got damaged, had to climb back through the field, has done a brilliant job, honestly, of doing so, and is finding it a little bit harder here at the top of the pack to make more inroads. Right now, trying to see if he can get Josh Thompson's spot away from him. Second place being closed in on is Kalistani, almost doing his traditional alternate strategy now. We've seen this from him a few times, but Osgard looking to demote him, the Scandinavian, reeling him in lap by lap.
Yeah, Osgard is going 2 seconds a lap quicker than our race leader Ricardo Orozco, but obviously now on lap 28 of this race, Orozco is committed to this one-stop strategy. So pretty much everyone right now, I would say, has one stop left to make, except maybe Rob Bower might try and stretch his tyres 45 laps to the end, but yeah, I think that's a little bit ambitious. So the race is on. Osgard is going to want to make quick work of Kalistani here. Kalistani, of course, might try and defend as they go under the bridge here, but Osgard already up alongside him and in front of him. Who needs DRS? So now Osgard is 16 seconds back of Ricardo Orozco, and at 2 seconds lap, it'll take him about 8 laps to run Orozco down, but also that's about the time in which Orozco is going to come into the pits at the halfway point anyway.
Indeed, you saw just how much those fresh tires count for with Osgard demoting Kalistani. Now, here's the interesting thing, Sam. The information we've got is it's 24 to 28 seconds for a pit stop. So that should give us an idea of where that would set Osgard back, but Osgard has a stop yet to go, and Orozco has a stop yet to go. So if he gains on him and he stops after Orozco, if he's close enough, he's going to have fresh enough tires that is going to be easy pickings, I'd have to say.
Well, the simple strategy here is that Orozco will pit... Oh, sorry, trouble here for Lathoris?
Oh, wall of champions. And he is parked in an awkward place.
Yeah, because Lindsay coming through the turn right now, just able to sneak by him.
Lost it on entry. Usually you don't see that. It's the exit that you have to worry about. He doesn't hit anything, but boy, did he have to pull a 12-point turn to get it turned around. Let's watch onboard Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean, even though he's parked in a less than ideal spot here, he did the right thing. He just held the brake down, let Lindsay find a path around, and then got going again.
Will Frazier had a bit of a moment coming up to him, spinning the tires, trying to stay out of him. And that has brought Frazier into a battle with Lathoris. Make that a 3-car fight. That's Rene Vinderbosch.
Another battle shaping up front in the not-too-distant future. We've seen Drenson keeping Thompson on.
Whoa!
Oh, but this is on now.
Yeah, 2 spots in one as poor Lathoris seems to be having a hard time with things. Vinderbosch and Frazier both go by into 10th and 11th. Lathoris is the only one of these 4 who has not stopped. Here goes one more, because that's Rob Bower on fresh rubber. He's got the DRS, but not enough speed.
Yeah, well, and into the pits comes Lathoris. Rob Bower will be wanting to get back by these guys because he started at the back. He worked his way up to the mid-pack. Now he's at the back again after that stop. He doesn't want the other guy's strategy. They're trapping back there. And Orozco is in. So he's going to go 30 laps on his first set of tyres, and I should imagine try and do the last 40 laps on the last set of tyres.
No surprise here. Osgard's going to stay out and take the lead away from him.
Orozco has got to be careful he comes out of the pits in front of Josh Thompson. Because that Thompson-Jensen battle, he hopes is going to be in his mirrors when he exits pit road.
And they're going to come out ahead of him, it looks like. There's Thompson and Jensen, which is exactly what he doesn't want, right ahead of him. Oh, this is horrible for Orozco. He's going to have much fresher tires than these two, which means he can't use the best of them unless he can make good on the pass here in just a few corners' time.
Kalistani also came into the pits that lap on that one-stop strategy.
Jensen still having to work hard on Thompson. Thompson doing a great job of defending, but right now, if those two start battling, this is exactly what Orozco does not want. Unless they battle and he is able to sneak through.
I'm surprised Orozco wasn't able to run them down more this lap. I wonder if he's still getting his tires up to temperature.
Now, I do understand that I believe they do have tire warmers on these cars, do they not? Just like real life?
Yeah, but I mean, still on-track running always helps.
It's really a lot warmer than those tire warmers. And you're right, yeah, he's having a hard time rocking up to the back of these two, even with DRS. Out of the first couple corners they come. So now we really need to watch the lap times and see what Orozco is doing in comparison to Osgaard. Osgaard's laps holding steady at 16.2, 15.5, 16.2, 15.9.
Oh, wow, up on the side, Fraser! And we'll see if he's able to continue after that one.
Wow, what a moment for Fraser. Lucky that car stayed right side up. Just a little move in the braking zone. That'll get your heart going.
Yeah, Boa was trying to pass him. I think he had the pass completed, but yeah, he kind of came over in the braking zone like you mentioned there, and it was very, very fortunate for Fraser that his car stayed on its wheels. And didn't get in the wall at the end of the pit straight.
Really? Look, a little reminiscent of Christian Fittipaldi there, circa 1993. I'm sure his car is not in pristine condition now, though. Fraser probably not terribly happy about that as he sits in 12th and drops off the back of Boer after that move. Closest fight on track. Jensen and Thompson, this is for second at the moment, but we're not sure that it's going to be for second. Oh, big mistake out of the corner from Thompson. This is going to hand it over. Wheel spin costs him dearly. Here comes Marcus Jensen all the way through before the braking. Finally gets himself up into second.
All right, now is Orozco going to capitalize, or does he... Because I'm just really surprised he hadn't closed in or attempted anything on them yet. I almost wonder if he's thinking, hey, I've got to make these tyres last another 40 laps. Why burn them up now, battling these two cars in front of me that are going to have to pit anyway?
The gap to him, from him to Tommy Osgaard, is 13 seconds at the moment.
But it's not going off a whole lot. Jensen and Thompson, their tyres will be dead by the end of this race. Thompson and Jensen will have to pit again at some point. But right now, their tyres are holding up okay. Is Orozco better off just saving his stuff here so that when they do pit, then he can get the full use out of those tyres and closing on Osgaard down? He might not be losing a whole lot right now.
Now, in the background, you may have seen a red and black McLaren coming out of the pits. That was Bill Fraser, actually, elected to take his second stop.
Yeah, probably get some repairs to that number 5 machine.
It seems like a wise move to me. It's going to get him some fresh tires on there, help him gain a little bit of speed and take it to the end.
That's the second bobble we've seen out of Thompson. Thompson just spun his rear tires getting out of a turn there. I mean, he could pit now and make it to the end. I'm sure he'd like to try and go a bit longer, though.
We're almost exactly halfway through this race. Thompson getting the DRS from Jensen ahead of him. Orozco getting the DRS on Thompson. But they all stay in order as they come across to tick the halfway point.
Yeah, Orozco is actually Jensen's biggest fan right now, because if Jensen pulls away from Thompson, then Thompson won't be getting that DRS anymore.
A little bit of a battle for 7th, I understand. Actually, that may have dropped off a little bit. Germanton and Andre were close together, but critically for Germanton, he's got himself out of DRS range. So Andre is going to have to redo all that work. Talked about hard chargers. Well, still Germanton at the moment, I'd say, from 14th to 7th. The New Jersey driver has been one of the ones that we've seen make pretty gutsy drives. I don't believe we've seen him on the podium yet in the broadcast races, but he's been up there getting top 10s.
Guys, I just noticed that, and here goes Orozco looking on third place, is able to use that DRS advantage over Thompson now that Jensen had broken away from them. I noticed a bit of front wing damage on Orozco's car again, but that's not from the connection this time. He earned that, unfortunately, through the wall of champions the last lap around. He just grazed it, and that has damaged his front wing slightly. I don't anticipate him pitting again, so he's going to have to carry that for the rest of the Grand Prix.
In a game that comes down to hundredths of a second, that might not seem like a lot, but that damage could cost him the win. It all depends on what Osgaard is able to do. Osgaard running the 2-stop strategy. Orozco running a 1-stop strategy, which means Orozco won't be able to come in to get that wing replaced.
Now, Orozco gets the closest in he's had to clean air since that pit stop right now. It'll be interesting to see what kind of lap times he can get here, and maybe he'll be able to get the move finally going here. That all he has to worry about is Jensen. If things go the plan for him, I wouldn't be surprised if Orozco is able to make a DRS pass within the next lap or two.
Ooh, got a good battle going on between Vanderbosch and Lindsay, and Vanderbosch is closing quick down the backstretch. He lifts, though, interestingly, and is going to back off. Lindsay, we should point out, is on older tires compared to Vanderbosch. 25-lap stint for Lindsay. Vanderbosch on a 13-lap stint at the moment. And that's going to make a huge difference in the grip that they can get out of these things. You can see him closing up, helped by the DRS. He's going to look to the inside. Lindsay not even going to defend. Oh, and he might not need to, as Vanderbosch cuts the course and has to hand it right back to him. It's all well and good to be fast, Sam, but you got to be fast on the track.
Yep.
So Orozco, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of being fast, what kind of lap times are leaders going to do this time around now that none of them have traffic? 1:16.1 for Osgaard, and then about 12 seconds behind him will come Jensen, who's been running in a high 1:15, so about the same as Osgaard, and sure enough, a 1:16.0 for him, a 1:15.7 for Orozco, so those fresher tyres picking up a few tenths a lap over Jensen.
Orozco also got DRS, so we should point out, though, so I think that helps the lap time of Ricardo. Oh! And Orozco, we just saw on screen, clipped the wall out of 4.
The second time we've seen him, he's definitely using all the track.
That one looked like a lot harder of a wallop. Let's watch. Positive Sim Racing car looks good until right there. I don't know. That was pretty rough. I'd be amazed if he's able to keep running the same lap times. If he is, that is a very hardy McLaren. Guess we'll find out this time by as they work their way down the backstretch, still trying to chase Jensen down.
Yeah, still over 30 laps left, and Osgard is running similar lap times right now to people who only put on tyres about 5 or 10 laps ago. I think, how many laps would that be to the end if Osgard went to the end, Joe?
Oh, shoot. You know not to do math on GSRC. So, wow, if he's got 18 with 48 laps, that's a long, long stint. I don't think he really needs to, especially if Orozco is now damaged, because last lap, 3/10 slower for Ricardo.
Yeah, Oscar pitted on lap 20, so that would be 50 laps on these tyres. He does have a 12-second advantage. And
side-by-side action between Lindsay and Vinderbosch once again. And this time, Vinderbosch gets it done successfully. Let's take a look at this one. Happened down the front stretch when Lindsay had a bad exit out of the wall of champions. Renee says, thank you very much. Gonna stick my nose in and seal the deal into turn 1.
Yeah, just 11 cars left on the lead lap right now. The last one of those, Rob Bower. 2 cars, 1 lap down, are Evan Lathoris and Bill Fraser.
Got a bit of a battle happening between Andre and Germanton. Might be worth checking into. This is for 7th spot. Germanton has been in the thick of the action today, being passed, passing, repassed. Through the wall of champions, both of them solid. Now, we're understanding that Orozco might have been netcode with the wall, that what we saw on screen wasn't what he saw on his screen. His wing looks good, we're seeing. But the question is that for what we saw in, or what we missed, rather, on the wall of champions, or in turn 4? Turn 4 looked like a pretty solid hit.
Yeah, it could have been both.
This is true. Of course, Orozco racing from Brazil, so our connection to him might be a little bit different from what he sees.
You currently have a Scandinavian driver running in front of him, the lead of a yeah, actually P1 and 2. Scandinavian 1-2 right now, and then the Brazilian there in 3rd.
Boy, Scandinavia being represented quite well today. Both of those drivers with black stripes. Actually, top 3. The cream rises to the top. All World Championship drivers. As we ride on board with one of them, Marcus Jensen sitting in 2nd.
Yeah, but let's not discredit Josh Thompson running in 4th place, because he's only about 3 seconds behind them. And then you have another 20 seconds to go back to Matteo Calistani, who's proven to us in the opening rounds of the season that he's no slouch. He's running in 5th. Now, what that does mean, and the good news for our top 4 drivers, is that if any of them decide to pit in the closing stages, they'll easily get out in 4th with no traffic. But mind you, actually, I say that, the guys in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th might fall behind Calistani.
Continuing to watch this battle for 2nd. I almost feel like this is costing Orozco time as well. We were worried about that. And though Jensen is close on pace, it certainly can't be helping Ricardo.
No, I have a feeling Ricardo was banking on being able to come out of this battle after that stop that he made.
The good news for him, about 5 or so laps ago, I was looking at the gap between Ricardo and Tommy. It was about 13 seconds. That has not changed. He's not losing time on Osgaard.
Benjamin Lindsay in the wall, excellent. The final chicane, and I think that could be race-ending damage there.
And that, I believe, is going to be driver error. Let's see on the replay. He was a little put off there by that car that was slow. But there you see him slamming it into the inside wall. Who was that slow car? And in fact, yeah, Lindsay is done for the day, it looks like.
Yeah, and Drenson into the pits. Well, this is great news for Roscoe.
Finally frees him up. And now we'll get an idea of what his pace is in open air.
And also see, as Josh Thompson is in too, and also see if he has been saving anything. Maybe now we'll start seeing some good laps from Roscoe, that he has clean track again. And also, it will be interesting seeing where Drenson comes out with relation to the drivers running 5th and 6th. Calistani goes by him, so no, he didn't have enough of a gap over Calistani.
But he gets ahead of Domingo. So Domingo in 5th, Jensen in 4th, Calistani, the final step of the podium, in 3rd. What a fascinating race between these drivers.
Okay, so Osgaard and Orozco lead the race, and it wouldn't surprise me too much if all of our leaders are done with stops now. But will Osgaard's tyres fall off of a cliff?
So you think Osgaard's actually going to try a one-stop?
Why not? He's still running 1 minute 16s.
That seems like a big risk. Oh, 1:15.8 for Orozco. That's about as fast as he was running when he was in DRS, but he had no DRS this time. So, yeah, I'd say he was being held up just slightly. Not a whole lot, but like we said, it can come down to the smallest of margins. Go ahead, Sam.
Domingo into the pits. Our leaders weren't done with stops.
This is going to free up Josh Thompson up to 5th. Jensen, we know for sure, is done with his stops, and he sits in 4th. The car ahead of him, Calistani. This is a battle for position, but Calistani has only done 1 stop. And I believe we expect Calistani to stay out.
Osgaard is not going to risk it. He's coming in. So even though his lap times were fairly competitive for now, he's going to take the 25 or so second loss here, get some new tyres. I think the disadvantage to this, Joe, is... meanwhile, we got some contact going on down in the hairpin here.
That was between Calistani and Jensen. That, my friends, is what they call a little bit of argy-bargy. Wow, aggressive stuff, but it came off for Jensen. He gets himself into 3rd with that move.
Yeah, it's a nice comeback through the field after what happened at the start. So Osgaard is done with his stop. He came back out on the track 11 seconds down the road from Orozco. And I don't think a 1-lap newer tyres are going to turn this into a race-winning strategy.
It's hard to say. Here's the other thing, or at least the reasoning why I think it's smart for Osgaard to come in, Sam, is if he hits that cliff, it's not just the time he needs to worry about, but the wall's so close around here, making mistakes, spinning the tires, losing grip. He could so easily end his race with a small mistake.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a conservative and a sensible strategy, especially if he was points racing. I just wondered if he was going to attempt to go for the win. And I'm not sure with... Mind you, the only thing, Orozco's tyres are going to be a bit older now, but I've just got to imagine that Orozco has been conserving these tyres while he was riding behind that Drenson-Thompson battle earlier on.
We'll have to wait and see. We've got 15 laps to go, and Marcus Jensen has now set the fastest lap of the race from 3rd place with his clear air. Unfortunately for him, he's 12 seconds back from Oscar, who actually has a couple laps fresher tires than him. Oh, Germanton comes in. The New Jerseyite is going to get slotted down. Where is he going to come out? I believe in 10th? 9th, I believe, actually. Long way down to his pit stall as Enric Andre goes by. And Lathoris not going to catch him. So yes, Germanton reemerges in 9th place, having started this race in 14th. Not a bad showing.
1:15.6 for our leader Roscoe. Oscar across the line, a 1:15.0, so half a second faster. But that is on brand new spanking tyres. You've got to wonder if some of that advantage will burn off in a few laps.
And it's the fastest lap of the race for the Scandinavian. He's making good on it. I'm actually curious if the peanut gallery can weigh in. Is it New Jerseyite or New Jerseyan? Or is there a special term I don't know about for New Jersey? We see Germanton out here. I want to get it right if we're going to call these races. Laps are starting to get smaller and smaller. Fewer for Tommy to try and make up this gap, which is now down to 10 seconds between himself and Orozco.
Yeah, we see that the sector split here, so it continues to be about half a second a lap right now.
Down to 9.9 and closing. I don't know, Sam. I think Tommy's got a shot at this.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to agree with you, Joe. I would have thought Ricardo had taken better care of his tyres, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The numbers not looking to his advantage right now.
Well, and his lap times are incredibly consistent now that he's on his own. It's been 15.6 for the last 3 laps for Orozco. Before that, he was in the 16s and the high 15s, which tells me that he had a good strategy. It's just him being caught up in traffic might be what cost him. It could come down to that. We'll have to wait and see as we ride on board with our current leader, Ricardo. Down to 13 laps to go through the casino hairpin. Oscar now has it down to 9.2 seconds.
Rob Bower is currently in the pits. I've got to be honest, wasn't keeping an eye on the timing here. We'll see if he comes out and interferes with these leaders. We've been having a quiet race. I'm sure he'd like a couple of those positions back that he gained earlier.
I wouldn't think this is a scheduled stop for Bower. Did he get some damage somewhere along the way?
He is going to come out near Evan Lathoris here. Just holds on in front of him.
Meanwhile, Oscar, the first driver into the 14s.
Yeah,
Tommy is on a tear.
We just saw Boa come out in that traffic, running about 9th, 10th, and 11th. Guess what? That's all right ahead of Oscar.
I've got word from an official New Yorker that it is New Jerseyan, so I'm gonna take his word for that on that. So Germanton, the New Jerseyan. 4th place, starting to get a little bit hot out here. Calistani and Thompson.
It should be an easy pick-in for Thompson here, depending on how defensive Calistani drives. Calistani running about a 1.5 laps slow on that one-stop strategy.
Boy, Matteo loves to run this. He tends to like to try and take the Prost route here and run those tires long, take care of them, and get to the end instead of booking it all the way and trying to push the car. But Thompson, as he closes up on him, he started this race in 3rd. He's currently sitting in 5th. Make that 4th now as he outbreaks him into the wall of champions. And that is a done deal.
Yeah, you wonder who the driver was who has gotten by him to push him back from 3rd to 4th. Well, would be a Roscoe, who on paper started this race in 4th, but as far as turn 1 was concerned, started this race from pole.
All right, things are getting complicated here, Sam. Evan Lathoris is now ahead of Osgaard. Now, he's pulling over and letting him through, but he could have cost him a little bit of time there.
Yeah, well, this whole battle from 9th place from Van der Bosch, Boer, and then Lathoris could hold him up. But the good news for Osgaard is this battle was actually broken up a little bit. These drivers in 9th, 10th, and 11th, I think they were a bit closer to each other a couple of laps ago.
That Coanda Sim Sport McLaren trying to eke everything he can out of the tires. Tommy Osgaard, one last round in Silverstone. He's trying to go back-to-back, but Orozco looking to deny him after a flying start off the line, got him up into the lead, and now a one-stop strategy is looking doable to take the win away. It is now down to 6.8 seconds between these two. Not any close battles out left on track. We can watch this one to the end with now 10 laps to go. Boer next to be lapped by Tommy Osgaard. What was his last lap with that traffic? Still a 15 flat. So certainly didn't seem to hold up Tommy too badly. He's making good still.
Yeah, this isn't going to work out well for Osgaard here, though. I think he might get trapped a little bit behind Boer in this last chicane. Okay, this will definitely not work out well if he can't get by Boer by the time they get to the S's. I think he'll definitely be losing time in the aero wake through this first sector.
And he will be getting the drag reduction system on those two straights, even though it is lap traffic, works just like in real life. But yeah, now that he's caught up to him, he's in a place where it's incredibly difficult to get by, and Boer's in a battle for position, so he really won't want to be pulling over too quickly.
Well, the good news for Osgaard is last lap, Orozco finally started to lose some of that consistency. He ran a 1:16.0. I don't know if that was just as Boer pulls out alongside for Osgaard there. I don't know if that was just a outlier lap time, or if maybe Orozco's tires are finally starting to fall off a bit.
The cliff does exist on these tires, as we've been told by drivers. They do drop off. It was a great move by Boer to let our leader through, realizing this is for the win, and that he can maybe give up a little bit of time to let these guys duke it out. Now, what about Van der Bosch? Is he going to be as polite? Pulls over to the side, lets him by. Nice job by Rene.
Yeah, these are all good finishes that these drivers are aiming for out here. We talked about the potential of this race being a race of attrition. 19 cars started, 12 cars guaranteed to basically get a top 12, because we've had the other 7 have all fallen out of the race. So all these drivers, even though they're running a lap down at the tail end, they're battling for pretty prestigious positions, I would say. 9th and 10th place in the top split, which can pay a lot of points.
So last couple laps for Osgaard were a little bit more harmful. 15-1, 15-3 for Tommy. He's losing a little bit of ground in this traffic, but it is down to 5.3, and there is now no one between them.
Yeah, and Orozco trying to find out if that 1:16.0 from 2 laps ago was an outlier lap. He did bring back a 1:15.8, and still not the 1:15.6s he was running those, so Orozco's lap times are getting slower. Osgaard has gotten through that traffic. I have a feeling that was probably his biggest concern. 17 laps left to go. I definitely say things are still playing out in the hands of the Scandinavian.
As we continue to watch this battle for the lead and the dying laps here in round 5. It's Tommy Osgaard versus Ricardo Orozco. Remember, Orozco started 4th. This will be quite a coup if he can pull this off.
Do I need to be saying Scandinavian night there, Joe? Is that the problem?
Let's ask the Scandinavians in the crowd, see what they say. So, Rob Boer is trying to make it exciting down in the fields. These two may have been polite to let the leaders through, but they're not going to be polite to each other. As Vanderbosch, as you mentioned, he's going to want this spot. Vortex Sim Racing car is looking back at a mirror full of Rob Boer.
Yeah, now that they've let the leaders by, they can afford to just race it out towards the end of the race.
If the leaders get closer, we'll jump up to them, but in the meantime, this is our closest fight on track. Now, the one thing that is interesting about these drivers pulling over, and the reason we were following these back markers, them working through, is in iRacing, there is no 3-corner rule with the blue flag. So it's whenever the drivers feel it's safe to let the leaders by. And honestly, they don't even have to let them by. They just can't obstruct them. They have to just be predictable, is what the rules say. So that was a great sportsmanlike move from both Boer and Vanderbosch to let the leaders through.
Yeah, a few cars a lap down now, Joe. Just 8 cars left on the lead lap. Let's take a look at them.
Starting with our leader, Ricardo Orozco. As we said, starting from 4th, flying off the line, making a brave move through the middle. I really almost want to say that's what got him the win here, if he comes home with it at least. And Tommy Osgaard has been chasing him, has tried a 2-stop strategy. So far, it's got him within reach, but he's got to make the pass in the end. Marcus Jensen rounds out our podium. It has been not the most fun days for Marcus, but he's made do and has got himself back up into 3rd. Josh Thompson sits in 4th. And Matteo Calistani, the only one of 2 drivers in the top 5 to try this 1-stop strategy, has held down 5th nicely. What's the rest of our lead lap drivers look like, Sam?
Calistani's teammate, Manu Domingo, currently holding down the P6 position. A relatively quiet race for him today. He's always up there, though. Enric Andre, the number 4 machine, well, I think he's been involved in his fair share of skirmishes today. He started 13th. He's made his way up to 7th right now. Starting alongside him in 14th on the grid was Carl Germanton. He is currently our last car on the lead lap and not for much longer, honestly, in 8th position, because Ricardo Orozco will soon put him a lap down. It'll be interesting to see how that shapes up the battle for the lead. That battle for 9th place, meanwhile, continuing to follow each other around, Rene Vanderbosch and Rob Boer. Let's just round out our 12 cars left in the race. Actually not, Jensen is off.
Oh, Marcus Jensen, after the run that he's had. Well, this was with a back marker.
Yeah, Evan Lathoris, he was next on our list, running in 11th.
The good news is he had such a gap on Thompson that he's still ahead, but is that car damaged? And is Thompson going to be able to sneak onto the podium?
Yeah, Lathoris was trying to do the right thing here. He was trying to let him by, but then he just thought he would have had him cleared more by then.
Watch from Lathoris's view. Lifting. He could have... Oh, he locked it up. That's why. I was going to say he could have been a little bit closer to the apex there. But unfortunately, being offline means the grip is not what you usually expect. Now, the plot thickens because Ricardo Orozco only has 1.2 seconds. Osgaard is going to be within the DRS zone very soon.
Yeah, and he's eaten a second a lap out of his times now.
This is going to take an incredibly robust defense from Ricciardo to hold on to the lead. Shades of Canada 2011. Can Osgaard do it on the two-stop strategy on fresh tires with a Roscoe now clearly in his sights? Down to the casino hairpin. Not going to be close enough this time. Doesn't have to wait for it. He's going to get the DRS for the first time. Is this going to be a slam dunk? They've got lap traffic in the form of Kyle Germanton ahead of them. Right on board with Osgaard. There's the flap. He's gaining. He's gaining. He looks to the inside. Orozco does not defend. And he's through. With only 2 laps to go.
12.
Osgaard using the two-stop strategy to try and get the win.
12 laps to go, Joe.
Oh, 12 laps to go. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and I have a feeling that's why Roscoe just handed that over to Osgaard. 1 second a lap with 12 laps left to go. No point in fighting it.
I told you we shouldn't do math on GSRC. Well, Lathoris, after the damage from that contact, has elected to come in for his stop.
Yeah, Drenson has stayed out with his damage. His lap times still fairly competitive, a 1:15.9 last lap around, so he should still be able to salvage that last step on the podium. Meanwhile, while we were doing our race rundown, we didn't get to the drive in 12th, who actually just moved up to 11th with Lathoris stop, and that's Bill Fraser.
Yeah, the UK&I driver getting a bit of the Dory Award today, I suppose. Keeping it out on track, keeping it going. Only 12 drivers still running. That might be 11 now. Actually, Lathoris is back out. Oh, Enric Andre with issues.
The one place on the track you can spin around and not hit a wall.
This is into the first and second corners. Just gives it a nice little donut and gets it going once again.
Although he wasn't far away.
So, Enric continues in 7th. Germanton gains a little ground on him, but he's going to have to push to try to run him down. They're on about the same tire strategy, only a lap difference between those two. That battle between our leaders was really the last one on track that we had, as the Roscoe continues to drop back now. Sadly,
yeah,
not as thrilling as I thought it would be.
Yeah, even the Boa Vanderbosch. Oh, I know. I was about to say that battle had broken up, but then Boa just spun his rear wheels and hairpin, almost looped around. But no, he maintains ninth place and is pulling away from Vanderbosch.
And there we see Boer now sitting in at 9th. Race not over for him. So out of all these drivers that have been doing these various strategies, who's on the oldest tires? I'm curious on that. And looking through, I think a Roscoe is 30 laps.
Yeah, pitted on lap number 30.
So 40 laps that he's attempting to do on these. Calistani, the next one down, at a lap shorter. He's got 29 laps on those tires.
Well, let's not forget that Orozco really had control of the field for the first part of this race. He was the one who chose to pit there on lap 30, and I mean, even though that was a bit early, I thought it would still work out okay, knowing he wouldn't be putting as much weight on the tyres for the second half of this race. However, Osgaard pitted late and he's done his thing. He's maintained consistently fast lap times through the end of this race. But as we mentioned, Joe, that the fact I guess that Orozco came out behind that Drenson-Thompson battle after that stop on lap 30, I guess that's probably the one thing he didn't plan for.
Now, sadly, it looks like we may have been robbed of a battle for second as well, because Marcus Jensen about 22 seconds back. He lost 7 seconds in that incident that he had with Lathoris. And looking at his lap times before the incident, he was running low 15s. Well, since then, the damage on that car means he can only do 116s, which is about the same pace as Orozco. Otherwise, he not only would have been about those 7 seconds closer, he would have been gunning down on the Brazilian driver. So Ricardo, I think his best friend, as you pointed out earlier, is Evan Lathoris so far this race. Not that I'm sure that's any sort of consolation to the Lathoris, though.
Hey Joe, right at the top of this broadcast, Dougie Beard gave us a brand new camera angle that we got to use through the grid. Wonder if we could use that during the race, get an idea of what it's like having all the cars blast by us, watching from the middle of the front straight.
Bit of a rail cam, I guess. Here, let's see it with Jensen. Wow, you can really see the damage that he got from that incident on that car as he comes up to the wall of champions. Here we go. Let's zoom down the front stretch, see what it's like with a car blasting towards you right into your face. Woo!
Oh, we love our camera guy, Dougie Beard.
And that was Josh Thompson. Now, actually, what kind of laps is Thompson running? Because is he damage-free? Oh, the plot thickens. Is Jensen going to be able to hold on to this third place here? Jensen running 16 flat, 16.3, 16.2. Well, Thompson's running a 15.8 and a 15.6 the last 2 laps.
Yeah, Thompson didn't run a hot lap last time around, but
yeah.
that could have been simply a mistake. Yeah, there's only 3 seconds between them.
8 laps to go. If he buckles down, Thompson does have a shot at it.
Yeah, but Drenson hasn't... I mean, even though Drenson has that damage, he hasn't really been making any mistakes. I have a feeling it would take a mistake from Drenson to get Thompson within striking range.
I suspect, though, that Jensen probably is not good on top speed. So if Thompson gets within the DRS range, Jensen could be a sitting duck. It'll all depend on if Thompson can get within that 1 second. If you're just joining us, you're watching round 5 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. We're here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Tommy Osgaard is looking like he solidly has the win in the bag, but you never know until that checkered flag falls. He has to take it there first. He was able to gun down Orozco, who took a gamble on that one-stop strategy. Didn't quite play out, but it looks like for the moment, the Brazilian is going to have a second place on his hands. And then if you missed the start of this race, Marcus Jensen had to come back from a major incident to try and climb through the field, has got himself up into third, but now, after he had another bit of contact with a lapped car, is worried about what's behind instead of what's in front.
Osgaard is also really going to have momentum on his side this time during the series here. I believe he's already a pro driver, but I'm sure he'll still enjoy winning these A-class races because he won the race we broadcast last week at Silverstone. Granted, that's a track that he has a lot of familiarity with, and he could have been contending for the win 2 races ago at the Nürburgring, but had a connection issue. And once again, things looking really good for him here at Montreal. Suzuka next up.
That was Enric Andre, another car going a lap down. Now only 6 cars on the lead lap. And yeah, that's a fantastic point that Osgaard was going to be challenging for the win. I believe his wheel went out on him, he said, that caused him to crash out in that race and have to DNF. So it could have, we could have been looking at 3 straight wins for the Scandinavian.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got to learn how to drive these cars without the steering wheel, and then he will be unbeatable.
Now down to 5 laps to go. And as we've seen, you can't count anything out. I've seen a few drivers, as Andre was getting lapped, actually, he almost spun the car, getting a little bit of loss of grip coming out of some of the slower corners. You still have to drive these things to the end as the tires start to go off. These low-speed corners do not have the help of the downforce. You got to be careful with that right foot.
Yeah, there's also the issue of complacence. These drivers could, you know, none of them are really in a battle right now. They're thinking, oh, this is easy. You know, I got a light fuel load, no one in my mirrors, no one in front of my nose, just got to ride around for 5 laps. Very easy to just make a mistake by getting a bit too relaxed in the closing stages here.
Here we see Thompson. Probably the most intense battle that we're watching, but unfortunately, as much as we'd like to play up the drama, Thompson last few laps, 16 flat, 16 flat. Jensen, 16-1, 16-2. A tenth at a time is not going to be enough, and in fact, Thompson was 3 seconds back. It is now 4.3 back from Jensen, so he has lost ground. Great news for Marcus Jensen, though. Even though he started in 2nd place, I almost feel like this has to be a win for Marcus. The fact that he climbed back through the field, he survived car contact, and is still going to keep himself on the podium.
I think Baton did it better.
This is true. We talked about that attrition. Well, the drivers who are not going to see the checkered flag today that DNF'd: Benjamin Lindsay, Stefan Schmidt, Simeon Lynch, Jalmus Groth, Harrison Finch. Boy, that is a big name that I did not expect to DNF today. Pierre Faber, and, well, the driver that we keep seeing blowing hot and cold, Ollie Quokka. Unfortunately, the last driver in at 19th. It didn't even get a lap in, I want to say. Looks like he got 4 laps in before he had to retire.
Yeah, there was a lot of attrition on that opening lap, and unfortunately, that's you know, that's just part of motor racing. We talk about it being a twisty circuit. I mean, yes. Also, you've got to consider the fact there's not a heck of a lot of grip around here. This is a park throughout most of the rest of the year, so not a whole lot of rub on the circuit. Track temperatures, even though they're fairly cool, they're not the coldest that iRacing has to offer. So there were a few factors that we're going to throw the opening laps of this race into, you know, just make them a little bit chaotic. And as we say that, we see Oscar make a mistake even on these old tyres here. That's not going to cost him 6.5 seconds, though. Once this race finally got a rhythm going, though, we did see some good battles on track and some different strategies pan out. It just so happens that some of these strategies have panned out much better than others, even against this commentator's mind. And that shows you why I'm up here on the booth and these drivers are down there on the track making these calls and wheeling these McLaren MP4-30s around at the Montreal circuit here. And now pretty much just about 5 miles left to go for Tommy Osgaard driving that number 3 machine to try and bring it home.
Let's take a moment to consider the championship, though. Manu Domingo sitting in 6th. Osgaard's been on a tear. Now, he wasn't even in the top 5 in points when we looked at that at the start, but this certainly has to be helping him. Did he miss the opening rounds? I don't have my stats handy with me. I can't remember if he maybe just missed a couple of the first couple races.
Oscar?
Maybe that's, yeah, Osgaard.
Yes, yeah. The first time we saw him racing in this division, or racing in these broadcasts, I believe, was at Nürburgring.
So that means when we get the drop rounds come into play, that is certainly going to bring him to the 4.
Yep. And speaking of the 4, let's speak about the 1. 1 lap left to go as Osgaard comes out of a final turn, crosses the start-finish line.
I'm sure it'll annoy our European viewers, but for American viewers, it is the white flag lap. for Tommy Osgaard. Certainly didn't seem to be fazed at all by Ricciardo's strategy call. He stuck with it. Osgaard decided to keep that sprint strategy. Took 2 stops today as we ride on board for what effectively is going to be his victory lap. In fact, he's gapped Ricciardo up by 8.4 seconds at this point.
Hey, we just had to change for position ahead of him. Bill Fraser went off from 11th and actually spins. Wow, this is going to be something that they're going to want to keep their eye out on. Fraser gets going again, but he's going to finish last of the cars, who will finish in 12th now.
Osgaard is able to get there by the time that the track clears, and you can see he's already celebrating this victory.
Don't mansell it.
I think these cars have anti-stall, so I think he's good on that one. Osgaard through the wall of champions one last time. He takes that nice and easy, cruises to the line. The Scandinavian takes his 2nd victory in a row. Orozco with a well-earned 2nd place from 4th to 2nd. Boy, this is my drive of the day for Ricciardo. Same thing, that almost have to give it a tie between himself and Marcus Jensen, who gets himself a nicely earned 3rd place. He comes through that final chicane, and there is your podium.
Yeah, you could also make an argument that Josh Thompson could be the driver of the day. Not a pro driver, but able to stick with the pro drivers and finish just 32 seconds behind our race winner Osgaard in 4th position.
Calistani, another driver to pull that one-stop strategy. He's going to get himself into the top 5. He's going to be followed home by his teammate, Manu Domingo, the last car on the lead lap. So with that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But stick around, because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal. Well, Tommy Osgaard takes his second win in a row, but he had to use a two-stop strategy to try and work around Ricardo Orozco, who was brilliant off the line. And Osgaard did get that win, Orozco in second, but we found out he worked that one-stop strategy because he didn't have enough fuel to get to the end, so he had to run a little bit slower than normal, so didn't want to run those hot laps. Marcus Jensen got third, but seems a little bit upset with some of the other drivers out on track after that race. He might have a few words with people in the forums, it seems. Josh Thompson gets a fourth place behind them, the first driver without a black stripe to come home with the checkered flag. Matteo Calistani finishes fifth, with Manu Domingo, our championship leader, taking sixth. Enric Andre finishes seventh, first car a lap down. Kyle Germanton gets eighth, with Rob Boer finishing at ninth, and the top 10 rounded out by Rene Vanderbosch.
Evan Lathoras finished in 11th position ahead of Bill Fraser. That rounds out the cars actually finished the race. Benjamin Lindsay was our first of the cars who weren't able to make it to the end. Stefan Schmidt, we also saw him get into the wall. Simeon Lynch back there in 15th position, he'll be credited with, ahead of the Jaume Giroux, who was just caught on the bad side there of driver pulling back out onto the racing line. Harrison Finch taken out in the chaos on lap 1, but he'll be credited with 17th because he started ahead of the other two drivers who retired on the opening lap, Pierre Fabre and Ollie Quoka.
That's our finishing order, and this is our winner, Tommy Osgaard, coming back to talk to us yet again, now that he's won 2 in a row. Tommy, were you a little bit worried about Ricardo running an alternate strategy, or did you feel pretty confident that your two-stopper would get you the win?
To be honest, I wasn't quite sure, but I felt pretty confident on my two-stop, so I knew if I just kept my head down and put in some good laps, I thought I would catch him by the end. I think he had some traffic in his first stint, or was his second stint, after he put new tires on as well. So I think maybe that helped me just a little bit as well.
Yeah, he did get held up being caught behind, I believe it was Jensen and I think Thompson for quite a while. So you obviously have won 2 in a row now, and it's been could have been 3 in a row with the problems that you had at the Nürburgring. Do you think it all about the championship, or are you mostly here just for practice for the WCS races?
It's both. I'm here to just practice, to get some race experience, practice some mental stuff that I do to make sure that I can nail a lap in qualifying and can have a good start and everything that makes a race. But I'm here for the championship as well. I want to give it a go. I sort of discovered it a little bit late, but yeah, I think I can do it. So I'll try to do as many races as I can, and then we'll see where I end up in the end.
Well, certainly position yourself well to have a go at it. Now, talk to us about the start. Obviously, Orozco had just an absolute stunner and was very brave to make it 3 wide into the first corner. Do you consider the difference to be the new clutch model that they have for this car, or what? How do you think he was able to sneak up through you guys like that?
I think I just practiced it more and just. Hit it perfectly. I didn't quite. I still need to adjust the position a little bit. But so I need to improve on that. I had a bad start at Silverstone as well, where I really, did a bad start. So I had a good start yesterday though in the WSC. But I need to work a little bit more on that, and that's why I'm here as well.
It never hurts to get some more practice in. Well, congratulations again on the win. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
My team, Global Sim Sports. It's it would be possible without them. I'm improving a lot because of everyone in the team. So big thanks to them, and also to my coach Fabio Martins, who's been practicing with me or coaching me for this race, and also training me. week in and week out. So big thanks to him.
Awesome stuff. Have a good weekend, man.
Thanks, you guys too. Thank you too as well for the stream. It's brilliant to have someone streaming these races. It just makes it a lot better. So thanks a lot.
Very enjoyable to cover them. That's Tommy Osgaard, our winner here at Montreal. Up next, we have 4th place finisher Josh Thompson waiting to talk to Sam.
Yeah, so we got Josh Thompson here. Josh, you didn't quite get the podium finish, but are you content with a 4th place finish?
Yeah, I'm actually quite happy with the final result. To say that I've not raced the car since the last round of the Pro Series, which was back in January. So first time back in the car and first race, so can't complain with 4th.
Yeah, I believe you were involved in a little bit of the comings together there in turn 1 on the opening lap. How did that affect your race?
To be honest, it wasn't too bad affecting. Like, obviously, I felt bad for Marcus. I didn't mean to. I just outbraked myself, locked the rear up on cold tyres, and I knew it was going to happen, but which was a shame. But no, it didn't feel too bad. Like, I managed to get back up to P3 and could like match Tommy and Ricardo up front. But I just struggled then after that because obviously I had damaged front wing for the first stint. So obviously I adjusted my driving style to that. But came in, new tyres, new wing, went back out, and it was a real challenge just to adapt back to how the car would have been at the start.
Well, you were still able to pull off a solid 4th place finish here. Next week we go to Suzuka. Are you looking forward to that? Well, will you be there? If so, are you looking forward to it? And what do you think you can improve on after today?
Yeah, I'll probably give it a go, actually. I actually enjoy driving the car after a while, taking a break. So for Suzuka, probably like fine-tune little mistakes, probably practice a little bit more on tyre wear and obviously starts. I had like messed up my start like really bad.
Yeah, I think everyone's getting a little bit used to the new clutch model still. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Josh, and congratulations on your 4th place finish. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Well, that is going to wrap up our interviews. I was Josh Thompson, 4th place finisher. As we get another one of Dougie's great little shots here. I love this shot heading down the front stretch. We want to thank a few people before we go. Of course, thanks to the iRacing Grand Prix Series community, especially to the donors who have helped make this broadcast possible. You can see them listed there on your screen. Additional thanks to thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast as well, and we'll bring the companies that help us there on our screen as well. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As Sam mentioned, we are heading over to Japan for Suzuka, one of the classic circuits here in Formula One. That'll be Sunday, April 22nd at 10 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.